This is called surveillance. Hernandez is going to prison. That's impossible light on the ground next to a demon engaging in surveillance with the police. And so is Delta Airlines. Hernandez is going to prison. And the gang members that he pulled over are gang stalking just like him. Criminal summoning is a means of the entity stalking together. The vicarious and direct engagement and gang stalking together at the same time. Where the airport is stalking, where the fake sun is over me. And this is at 815 Holt Boulevard. I just want to be clear, that's the Starbucks right there. That's the Starbucks right there. The entity has a fake sun over me at the Starbucks, which is the same side, the opposite side of the same street where David Quinones is monitoring my vagina this morning, where the fake sun is rising at 7. This is literally at the block. At the block. This is where the airport is stalking. The entity is doing this as though they're taking off and landing while they are stalking, hovering over the parking lot, over Bonita Court. But then the entity is on the opposite, where I'm at, where the fake sun is still present at the same location, and that's where you're stalking. And is engaging in criminal summoning with the Ontario police. He's going to prison. Those demons inside of the car, their facial expressions looking like they're disturbed because they're being pulled over. They're gang stalking their demons under the fake sun. They are maliciously targeting in concert with the people. All right, they being the people of the state that are pacing on the roads and the highways. The people's role is to be pulled over. The entity is engaging in what is criminal summoning, and they're all together exercise. They're playing cops and robbers, in other words. They're stalking under the fake sun, and that's where the airport is stalking. Hernandez is going to prison. Superior is gang stalking me as well. I'm going to prosecute this little ghetto establishment, this gang stalking establishment, filled with immigrants that are hostile to American citizens enforcing their rights, and that's noted. You don't want to be here, honey. That is noted with regard to your gang stalking. You're not welcome here. You don't want to be here. You're not even welcome here. It's un-American. Go back to your country if that's where they're engaging in what is terrorism with the government, whatever type of regime that is. But this is the entity engaging in what is hostility. That's what is communicated while the entity is gang stalking through the gang members of the Ontario police. The entities, Hernandez is going to prison. Analytically speaking, he's going to prison. The light activity inside of that laundromat, the maintenance of the fake sun rising this morning at the Stater Brothers at the Ontario Village Shopping Center, which is right here. This is the same location. The entity has the fake sun over me now. It's after 4 p.m. That's non-movement of the sun. The entity is engaging in what is stalking with that environment while that pattern of conduct remains underway. They literally are following up and down Holt Boulevard and doing so while that demon that had a gun on his hip, he's going to prison for being in the position and stalking. There are clearly any takeoffs. You're looking at stalking by an airport. This is the mentally ill that have no business in law enforcement. They have no business being in cockpits flying planes. This is why UPS was able to murder those people in Kentucky. Things are going to change as I engage in this prosecution of the U.S. government in California. This is P.O.C. He's going to prison while Ontario police, this demon right here, his name is Hernandez. That midget's going to prison. He's going to prison. It was complete in that video, but he's going to prison while the entity is stalking by, he's going to prison. All right. The light activity, the stalking by the entity, the entity is he's going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. All right. That's the pattern of conduct. And this is the entity that knows it. Yeah, they're not even trying. He knows it. Hernandez is going to prison. And by the way, while they're going to prison and they're not getting out. They've done more than gang stalking me, which is enough. It's terrorism. The entity is engaged in what is mail fraud. They've engaged in identity theft. They've shared in that with the people of the state. You're engaging in what is gang stalking. Do you understand how I could not pay for better evidence? You think this is a coincidence as I'm talking about Hernandez going to prison, and then this department thinks it's a good idea to fly over my head? You know why? Because they know they're going to prison, and because you do that, with that knowledge, you're not getting out of prison. You're not going to prison for 5 years for gang stalking. You're not going to prison for 10 years for gang stalking. This is P.O.C. Hernandez is very much indeed going to prison, and the Ontario International Airport is very much indeed being shut down, and that's mental illness that you see following me around at nightfall as well. And that traffic stop is why the Ontario police is being disbanded. That gang member in that vehicle back there, all these gang members here are sharing in that criminal pattern of conduct, and flying over the top of my head makes you sure that they're all stalking. That's what that does. 7 VVP 149, license plate 8 WSC 534. The hostile immigrants in this country, they're being deported because of their engagement in domestic terrorism with the murderers and the kidnappers of the Ontario police. That's why they're being deported. Their hostility is shown through the gang members of the Ontario police. The message has been fully conveyed. You will be deported. Summarily, you will be deported. This is P.O.C. These are demons. Demons that have been granted a privilege to be here. It's being revoked. This is P.O.C. Flying over my head is not what you do if you want to stay in the United States. You're being deported. Gang stalking, wearing a uniform and a badge, you're going to prison. You're going to be subject to mental examinations. And this is the entity that does so. Hernandez has no hope. He doesn't even intend to not go to prison. They know that. They're stalking me with the level of hopelessness and desperation. And I'm also even going to analyze that in order to prosecute. This is P.O.C. This is all psychopathic pacing. Monitoring with the police. And that's what that traffic stop was. He drove out of the parking lot and then drove back in to engage in stalking with light in the path while I went into Superior. I couldn't pay for better evidence. I don't have to. And was keeping my vagina under surveillance. This is what the Ontario over this venue, what was amplified playing activity in the bathroom, you're going to prison. They're going to prison. The demons in the black vehicle that Hernandez pulled over, they're going to prison. Every documented act of criminal summoning, you see the tactic of gang stalking by Mike LORENZ, that agency, they're all going to prison, including Tracy Banks. She's engaged in criminal summoning with this Ontario Police Department. Don't forget what they're doing together on video that night that they were monitoring what I published on the X. She's going to prison, as is every terrorist. This is P.O.C. These are demons that know the truth that I speak, and they're going to prison. And while they're doing so, monitoring evidence. This is evidence that you're monitoring what I'm talking about. This is evidence that